You know who's not having a hard time and also called Liam is Liam Neeson, man. Liam Neeson is in talks to star in Paramount's Naked Gun reboot. This comes to us from Variety. Ooh, I'm so excited. Seth McFarlane and Akiva Schaffer are officially courting Liam Neeson for Paramount's Naked Gun remake. The Taken actor is in talks to lead the modern version of the 80s slapstick film, Variety confirms. Schaffer, the Chippendale Rescue Rangers filmmaker and Lonely Island member, will direct and executive produce the movie. Schaffer penned the screenplay with Chippendale writers Dan Greger and Doug Mand. McFarlane and Erica Huggins are producing through their company Fuzzy Door. I mean, this is just a no-brainer, dude. Like, I don't know. Like, when I think of Liam Neeson as a comedian, I think that's so funny in my head because I've never seen him try to make jokes. His comedy comes from how serious he is.
Right.
You know, and if you guys have ever seen 1,000 Ways to Die in the West, Liam Neeson is
a million ways to die.
A Million Ways to Die in the West. He's the main villain, and he kept his original accent from Ireland, and he's just like this cowboy bastard trying to mess with Seth MacFarlane and all the other characters, and he's just so serious all the time that it just makes him funny. He's just naturally funny. Like, what the heck, man? This movie sounds perfect for him. It's amazing. He's gonna be in a suit with a gun like he is always in, and he's just gonna talk to people seriously with his serious dramatic voice, but it's just gonna be funny stuff coming out of him. Oh man, what more is there to ask for? Raul, what do you think of this? What do you think of the directors, the producers, everything? What do you got?
I think this is a good, promising mix of people involved here. And of course, you know, the original Naked Gun film starring the late Leslie Nielsen. Leslie Nielsen was originally a very serious, dramatic actor, you know, and of course he eventually kind of switched over to doing comedies. You know, he was in Airplane, then he did the Naked Gun films and a whole bunch of other comedies after that. And it really works the way that he brings this kind of seriousness. And a lot of what's fun about these movies is that he's serious. He's like the straight man and playing everything so straight, but it's the situations and the absurdity around him that make it, you know, funny. And it just highlights, you know, him being serious highlights the absurdity around him. And I really enjoyed Leslie Nielsen in those films. And I think Liam Neeson is a very good choice for this. I can easily see it right now. I can see him kind of giving his, you know, what you know as Liam Neeson's very serious kind of delivery and stuff, but just ridiculous shit is it's just constantly happening. I think this is a good combination. Seth MacFarlane, that's the one I didn't realize until just now. I guess I had forgotten that Seth MacFarlane was involved. But yes, Akiva Schaffer of the Lonely Island, you know, with Andy Samberg, you know, that collaboration. Of course, anything that the Lonely Island puts out is very
You can't
funny.
go wrong with a Lonely Island member directing something like this.
Pop star, never stopping.
Oh, so good.
Very underrated comedy. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was super funny. I wish more people had actually gone out to see it because it's actually very good. So yeah, Akiva Schaffer, Seth MacFarlane. Of course, Seth MacFarlane does have a history working with Liam Neeson, you know, in A Million Ways to Die in the West. And yeah, with Akiva Schaffer, I mean, the Chippendale Rescue Rangers film, that was such a pleasant surprise, and I think a lot of people really enjoyed that film. That movie had no business being as good as it was, but I really enjoyed it. Yeah, it was a fun movie. Hilarious, hilarious. And what I love about, and I'm really hoping, you know, I know this kind of film died out like in the 2000s with like Vampires Suck and Meet the Spartans and, you know, superhero movie, because it started out with like scary movie and all that stuff, and they just ran that genre into the ground, and the quality just wasn't as good as like the, you know, Airplane and the Naked Gun. And that kind of, you know, ran that genre into the ground, and you don't see these kinds of films anymore. You know, and I really love that kind of absurdist comedy, you know, of the earlier days. But I feel like this and Naked Gun and Airplane, this was like the heyday of that kind of stuff. And like Top Secret and even, God, what's the one with Charlie Sheen? Hot Shots. The Hot
Hot
Shots
Shots is
films
good.
are so funny, and they don't make films like that anymore. The closest thing I've seen in recent days was the TV show Angie Tribeca with with Rashida Jones as the lead, and it was that kind of style of comedy, and it didn't last very. It lasted like two or three seasons or something like that. But to me, that was the closest thing in recent days that I'm like, oh yes, this is back to that kind of form of comedy. Anyway, I'm just gushing all about it.
No,
and I think,
dude, keep doing it.
I'm
You're good.
hoping this movie takes it back to that roots instead of just like, oh, let's just make fun of the most recent pop culture thing and make jokes about it, like with all, with the more recent ones, Vampires Suck and Date Movie and stuff like that. That's all the jokes were. It was just like, hey, what pop culture reference can we cram in here? Rather than the movies of the heyday with Naked Gun and stuff, just the funny sight gags and the straight delivery by Liam Neeson. I'm just excited about this. I hope they can get it back to form with this formula and give us that kind of comedy again. Sorry, Ken, what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, like, one of the things that I always notice about movies from back in the heyday is a lot of these movies might not work now, and like by that I mean we might be too sensitive to them now, because there were a lot of movies back then that weren't afraid to push it to make it as offensive as possible. But that's part of the humor, that's part of the humor to it, and you had to have a lot more of a thick skin back in the day to watch these types of comedies. It's actually the reason why a lot of comedy films aren't out as often anymore. Like, we don't get to see that many comedy films. And you're right, the movies from like the early 2000s and like the 2010s in the beginning kind of ruined the comedy genre for us for film.
Or at least that specific style of comedy.
Yeah, but it's like it did kind of push a lot of audiences away from going back to the movies, and it's like it's not what you want. That's not the goal for comedy films.
Yeah.
We want people to want to come back to the films and want to come back and watch these movies. And I think, it's nice to see that even the directors and the producers of this movie are people who aren't afraid to kind of push it a little bit. They want you to feel a little uncomfortable so that it gets a giggle out of you. And I'm okay with that. Like, I think it's good to start training us all to get a little bit more thick skin kind of stuff when it comes to this humor. But what's up, Raul?
But I do think that when you go to those older movies with Airplane and The Naked Gun and all that stuff, a lot of it wasn't. They weren't trying to go for pushing the boundaries. A lot of the jokes, sure, happened to kind of push boundaries, but you can tell that wasn't the aim. They were just coming up with, really good jokes, and, sometimes it kind of pushed the boundaries and not. But I think where it really kind of went off the rails was with like Scary Movie and everything onward, where that was kind of part of the driving. Oh, how gross can we get? How much can we push the boundary? Oh, how much, fart humor and poop humor and just like all the crass kind of. It was almost like that was the priority, which is kind of like what they kind of lost sight of what is charming about those older films.
It's more about like it's not about, hey, how gross can we get this to make the audience member go ugh. Instead, it's more about, hey, can we put this gross thing in the story, and does it make sense for the story to have that? That's what makes it funny, because once you apply it, then it's like, oh, like it pushes the story forward. Yeah. It's fun. We can keep going.
Right.
Like, that's true. All the Scary Movie stuff, it just felt like it was all for shock value, and it's just not the same thing. It's
Right.
completely different, and we've lost track and sight of that. So here's to hoping, man. Seth MacFarlane, he's gonna produce this. Let's hope he does a good job with this. But